And a lot of times I do catch you making comments about yourself that just don't apply anymore. And I'm like, you got to stop saying that. You'll say, well, I'm not in very good shape. And I'm like, you work out 5 days a week. You're in pretty good shape. I mean, I'm sweating, I'm dying right now, and you're doing great. You're keeping up with me with no problem. And so it's taken a while, and it's taken work to get to where you are.
I'm Cristy Code Red, and you're listening to Rebel Weight Loss and Lifestyle, where we believe food holds the power to heal or poison, and we believe our society has been misled regarding proper nutrition and weight loss. You're in the right place if you're looking for some straight up truth, because I'm here to shed light on the lies and brainwashing that has taken place over the past 5 decades. Thanks so much for listening.
Welcome back to another episode of Rebel Weight Loss and Lifestyle. I'm your host, Cristy Code Red, author, entrepreneur, retired professional boxer. And Carrie, could you introduce yourself to people who might be listening to this for the first time?
We might have a new listener. We are getting new listeners every week. I am Carrie Thompson. I'm the Chief Operations Officer here at Code Red. And I also spent about 20 years doing open heart ICU nursing as an RN before I got my master's degree in nursing education. And then I got to teach graduate school. Which nurse has one job? I had 3 jobs when Cristy hired me. So I was teaching, working on the floor, teaching clinicals, doing all that fun stuff. And then I came to work for Cristy at the time of this recording 4 years ago. And it has been just the best decision ever. Do I miss the bedside? Sometimes. Do I miss nursing during COVID? No, I hear that was a nightmare. And I don't also miss 14-hour shifts, but I still work 14 hours a day. Not every day, but at least I can get up and go check on a chicken and then come back. So I'm good.
Yeah, working from home has its advantage. And Carrie also lost 100 pounds and has kept it off. So she understands.
Minor detail.
Yeah. She understands. She understands what you're going through. She understands weight loss surgery. She understands a lot of things that you might be going through yourself. So thank you for joining us. Carrie often is the co-host for this podcast, but sometimes I do solo podcasts as well. And we're so happy that you're here. Please rate and review. If you like this, please share this. It really helps us. Right now, we're ranked number 37 of all weight loss, nutrition, and fitness podcasts in the United States. So that's pretty darn good. And I think we're still ranked in the 200s of all podcasts in the United States. So this is really out of close to 900,000 podcasts. So this is great. We really love doing this with you guys. And today we're talking about 3 weight loss struggles no one tells you about.
This is a tough one because once you bring it to light, Cristy, then we are responsible for dealing with it and dealing with deciding how we're going to deal with these things in our life. Because if we keep it hidden, then we can just keep it and no one knows about it. But as soon as we talk about it, then it's out there and then we have to decide how we're going to deal with it.
Right. Once you know, you can't unknow. And our job is to, bring these things out in the open and help you have the tools to handle it. So without further ado, let's start with number 1. The number 1 struggle with weight loss that no one tells you about is people tell you look great and that you don't need to lose any more weight.
Oh, Cristy, why?
Happens all the time.
Can somebody explain to me why? First of all, I got to calm down, Cristy. I got to calm down. I don't even drink wine. Where's my wine? Why is it anybody's business to say anything about anybody and their body?
Exactly.
It's not, unless I ask Cristy, hey, how does this dress look? How do you think I'm doing with this? How do I make this body part different? Unless I ask her, I don't tell her what I think about her body. She doesn't tell me what I think about my body. It's not anybody's business. Who are these people that are saying things about people's body? Who are they, Cristy?
I'm always amazed. It's never okay to talk about someone else's body unless you want to make a compliment. I compliment women's bodies all the time. And if I can do it in a real, non-flirtatious way, I might say something about a dude brother, you are built, or something real, friendly and not flirtatious. But I compliment women's bodies just because girls just need that boost. Man, your figure is absolutely gorgeous. But it's not, oh, it really, even in that case, it's not ever okay to talk about someone else's body. Carrie and I have another sister who is very thin. She's been thin all her life. We used to tease her when we were kids. We called her Stork Legs Laura. And she has, people make comments about how skinny she is, all that. She eats like absolute garbage. She eats like total garbage. And people are like, how do you eat that way and still stay so skinny? Well, it always bothered her growing up. So it bothers people. Like, don't say, what are you doing? That is so rude.
It is so rude. Hey, Cristy, do you remember when we met Dr. Ken Berry? And we met Dr. Ken Berry at KetoCon in Austin, Texas, a couple years ago.
And Nisha.
And Cristy shook his hand. He's a great dude. We were at a VIP thing. His wife was amazing. She was pregnant with their son. And Cristy shook his hand and she kind of went like this on his chest. And she was like, dude, what did you say? You didn't say ripped, but you said built, but you said another slang word. It must be like a bodybuilder.
Oh, jacked.
Jacked. That's what you said. You go, boy, Dr. Berry, you're jacked. And now his face got a little red, and it was cute the way Cristy handled it. She was not flirting. She was not inappropriate, but I think it made him feel good. He works, at that time he was working super hard on his fitness. He looked great, but it was really cute the way you did that. But other than that, explain to me how anybody has a right to say anything about your body. And you need to keep that in mind. When people give you their opinions on your weight loss, that you should be done losing weight, they're not your coach. They are not Cristy Code Red. They are not in charge. And most of the time, they're probably overweight themselves, is what I find. Those are the people that are telling you those things. So you need to question their motives. Even if they love you, it is absolutely not okay for them to say those things about you. Man, that makes me upset.
Yeah, it makes me upset too. And it fires me up when you beach body coach or even your medical doctor who did not help you, who is overweight, him or herself, and did not help you lose weight. Now they're going to say something about like, no, we're not doing this in an unhealthy way. We're not doing phentermine pills. We're not doing HCG shots. We're doing real food, water, and sleep. Your weight loss is between you and me. That's it. It's between you and me. And sometimes Carrie, I might pull her in it, but it's you and me. In nobody's business. I will help you through this. If I picked a goal weight for you, that's because that's where you need to be. If you want to talk to me about that and you want to get that adjusted, again, between you and me, I do not care what your pastor's wife thinks. I do not care what your mailman thinks. I do not care what your cousin's wife has to say. It's none of their business. It's between you and me. You don't they want to say bull crap like you look like you've been in a concentration camp or what you got cancer? Like, how rude is that? That is awful and sometimes, Carrie, we get it from the spouse.
Yeah, we do get
our rebels get pushback from their spouse.
We got one very strange, in all the years I've been doing this with Cristy, we got one very strange email from a husband. I've never seen anything like it. It was definitely the one off. Yep. And he said, I hate Code Red. I hate that my wife even joined. He said she's too skinny, and she wasn't. But he said she's no fun. She won't drink with me. She won't stay up late. And I am like, what in the actual crap is this relationship built on? If the only thing you care about your wife is her not being healthy, but the fact that she won't drink beer with you and stay up late, like that's like, dude, your relationship has some issues before you even got on this computer. And the fact that you're bringing it to me and you weren't even talking about her, but that was a total one-off. It was one of the weirdest things Cristy and I have ever experienced, but it was, and totally no one else has ever. Most husbands are thrilled because their wives, or, if you're, it doesn't matter if you're married to a man or a woman, like spouses in general are very happy that you're taking your life back. But yes, Cristy's right. Sometimes you'll get a spouse that's like, you're getting too skinny. Well, I think sometimes that's a little insecurity on their part.
Ooh, yes, it is. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, because the fat wife isn't going to cheat on you. Maybe.
Right. There you go, sis. There you go. Yeah. And a lot of times when you lose weight, the breast tissue, which is fat, will shrink. And so now your boobies are shrinking. And now people are like, the husband's
your
like,
booty.
Your booty and your boobies, and like Madonna says, and now you might see some more wrinkles in your face because your face is leaned out. And Madonna says, I'd rather get a facelift and be lean than be fat and have no wrinkles. So you got to really weigh the options here. You're metabolically healthy. You're off your meds. You're no longer using a CPAP. You no longer have pain in your hands and knees. You have more higher libido. You have higher confidence. You're now the size where you need to be, and you weigh that against the fact that your bra is a little bit smaller now and your booty's not as big as before. Like, really, this is really can cause some serious conflicts in people's lives, we see.
And you need to have a prepared answer. You really do. And we talked about this on another recent podcast, but thank you for your thing. Like Cristy says, thank you, Diane. I'll take that suggestion under consideration.
That's right.
Or if you're going to be bold, like Cristy and I, you can say it is not your right to make any comments about the way I look. One of my daughter's dad said to me, his mother was German. She is German. She's still alive at the time of this recording. And she would say, I like Carrie. She's pretty, but she's got big hips. She was German. That's a terrible German accent, but you know what I'm saying? She's pretty, but she's got those big hips. And that was funny. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's me forever. But it was funny because I remember her, she was trying to compliment me and insult me in the same time. So if grandma or whatever wants to do that, you have to have, thank you, grandma. Or thank you for your concern, or I appreciate your feedback, or don't say anything and stare at them. It makes them so uncomfortable. Or you can say, it's not your right to say anything about me, and walk off. Like, you could be that way, but most people aren't going to do that, Cristy.
We've had a lot of rebels that stop their weight loss because of what their partners are saying about them. And it's really sad because they would be almost a goal and then they would stop. And a lot of times start gaining the weight back because the partner just pressures them and badgers them and hounds them, and they just give in eventually. Because I understand what it's like. Nobody wants conflict in the home, but I mean, Carrie, at one point you got pretty thin, and I think your husband even said to you,
yeah. And that's just his personal preference. And, and it didn't bother me because if I had really wanted to stay like that, that would have been fine. It wasn't a bridge I was going to die on, but he would never demand. We've had people quit Code Red because their spouse forces them to eat food with them late at night, sit down at the dinner table and eat food. What is going on in these people? Like, these people, I just I don't get it. I'm not going to say anything. Like, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
So the second thing that are weight loss struggles that no one tells you about. Number 2, you get more attention than you're used to.
Oh, people hate this. It's interesting. They hate it or they love it.
Right.
If you have previously been through some kind of trauma or abuse, especially, and if you're triggered by talking about trauma, then just so everyone knows, I'm going to talk about that. I'm not going to have details, but if you have went through some kind of sexual trauma, abuse, and you used weight to help protect you from the opposite sex or the same sex noticing you in that way, then this is going to be hard for you. And this is something you really need to seek out some professional help with. Go to a counselor. There is no shame in getting help with counseling. Our dad is a therapist, a licensed therapist, mental health professional. Get help, guys. It is okay to feel this way as you lose weight, but it can become a real barrier.
That's why we have the training course, Loving the New You. And this is an actual digital training course that takes you through the process of dealing with losing the weight off your body, but also losing it off your mind. Because there are people who have been victimized, and this is something that brings up, once they start, is something, a way that they were able to hide.
Yes.
They hid behind the weight. They use the weight to shield them for so many years. And man, I can understand totally why you would do that, but it's a new day and you're no longer being victimized. You are in control of your own life. You're an adult now. And we got to get this weight off you. Metabolically, it's not healthy. You know this, you're in this program for that reason, but this is something that not a lot of people talk about. Like, wow, you might be getting some looks, I might be getting some smiles. Society does treat thinner people better than overweight people.
Sadly. So
Did you
sad.
notice that, Carrie, when you were,
Yes.
because now
Yes.
you have a very hourglass, very voluptuous hourglass, sexy figure. And I know I do too, but you do, but you were heavy before. So did you notice the difference between,
I
well,
mean,
I
of
know,
course, you know, you
yeah,
get a lot more attention, which can be bad and good. You know, it can be bad in the sense that you're like, well, I'm all that. It's like, okay, you know, slow your roll, Carrie. And then it's also good because you do feel more confident. But if you do, if that's very unwanted to you, just be aware. If it's wanted, but you don't know how to deal with it, because it is kind of weird. You know, I had a man come up to me, I don't know if it's been like a year ago. It was right after the gym. I stopped to grab something at the gas station, and he came up to me and he said, I see a ring on your finger. He said, but tell me I saw you at the gym. Tell me that that's not a wedding ring. I was like, yeah, no, it's kind of a wedding ring. Like, I don't even know what other ring you wear on your left ring finger on your left hand, but it was funny. And I had, well, I never am insulted. I just said, thank you. That's really kind. He wasn't being a jerk. I'm not going to be a jerk to people. That's really kind. But no, I have a very protective, large husband at home. And he was like, hey, I understand. You know, he left me alone. And, but Cristy, that probably happens to you. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't bother me. I thank them, but I have a response, because if you're not used to it, watch out, ladies and guys.
yeah.
When you do lose weight, people do, sadly enough, if they're respectful like this man, it's not a big deal. But I remember one time we were at a gun and knife show, and Brandon leaned over the counter and said to the man, stop staring at my wife. I didn't even know the guy was staring. So
Oh
funny.
my goodness.
I'm sure it's happened to you, Cristy.
When you were heavy, did people treat you different?
Yeah, I don't know if they treated me differently, but I never got hit on
Yeah.
ever. Like, I just didn't. And I was younger. So it was odd, but yeah, people, you're more, I'll tell you something that's interesting is, and, our auntie brought this up. She lost quite a bit of weight on Code Red. She said, as you age, you become invisible. And I do think that's true. And she said, losing weight makes you more visible. People see you more. Unfortunately, it's almost like sadly, it's almost like you start to matter more, which is horrible.
Wow.
Horrible. But she said, you're not invisible anymore. And that's a weird feeling for a lot of people.
I know that for me, I don't ever know why I get the comments. I mean, I am on a lot of ads. I do have a mohawk, and I do stand out in a crowd for sure. I was walking through the Salt Lake City airport, and a man came up and said, Cristy, Code Red? And I said, yes. And he said, my friend is so impressed with you. She absolutely loves you so much. And I said, well, thank you. I hope your friend's doing well. Another man walking by said, I don't even know who she is, and I'm impressed with her, like that. And I was like, well, you are so kind. Thank you. And guys, all you have to say is thank you. You don't
That's
have
what
to
I
say,
do.
well, I've got 20 more pounds to go, or
Nope.
well, I still have wrinkled skin, or well, you should see these bat arms. You don't need to say anything.
Don't say a word.
You just insulted that compliment.
Yeah.
Don't say a word. Just say thank you. I like to put my hand on my heart and say thank you. Look them in the eye and say, I sure appreciate that. Be sincere and thank them. They didn't have to say anything to you. Don't be insulted. But yeah, I mean, a society doesn't talk about the more attention that you might be getting as you lose weight. And number 3, your mind can't keep up with the changes to your body as you lose weight.
This is a huge one, Cristy, because it's better now, but I still sometimes, okay, I love to thrift store shop, and I'll grab a large, and I'm like, clearly, Carrie, that is not going to fit you. Why do I do it? Why? And that is why we created Loving the New You, because it is such a soul journey that you go on. So you lose weight pretty quickly in Code Red, not like tapeworm quickly, but you lose it pretty quickly. And then your brain has to catch up, and it's really tough to get your brain and your body to come to the same spot. And it just takes some time, which is why we created that digital learning series. My dad and I did it together. It's amazing. But it was some of the tips and tricks. Cristy had to do things like take pictures of me and be like, and take the phone and be like, do you see that person? And I'm like, what? It was weird.
I remember, Carrie, I do. I know I tell this story a lot, but I actually took Carrie. She didn't know. I said, she came to my house. I couldn't believe. I said, wow, you're just so small. And she goes, no, I really am. I'm not. And I said, here's a size 6. I put her in a size 6 jumpsuit. And then I grabbed a handful of the material at the waist and pulled it out. I said, this is a size 6. And I still have a handful of excess. And it was only until I did that that she realized what she looked like.
Can we pause?
Yeah, me. So then I had to pull the fabric out from your waist to show you that it was a size 6 and with some left over. And I'm not trying to talk about the size or like size, Carrie wears it. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that she did not believe it until she actually saw it herself. And years she's been at goal weight. And yeah, whenever Carrie and I go shopping, I actually have to take pictures of her to show her what she looks like in things. You've got a mirror in front of her, but she just doesn't see it. I notice with her, she just doesn't, you don't ever see how good you look.
You know how your subconscious, Cristy, dictates, sometimes gives you a clue with what's going on inside your brain. All of you that have lost weight, tell me when you dream, are you heavy or are you normal size?
Ooh.
Because I just recently stopped having dreams where I was heavy. I'd say in the last couple of years. Wow. So 10 years I've kept my weight off, but Cristy, for 8 of those 10 or 7 of those 10, I still dream like a heavy person. Explain to me that craziness. That doesn't even make sense. So my brain, your brain has to catch up. And please do not be frustrated with the soul journey. I tell this all the time. This sounds, I know, hippity dippity, Carrie and Cristy, crystals and rocks and powders, but it is true. You have to let your soul catch up. It is a journey of the physical and it is a journey of the mind. And to just lose the weight and move on would not be recognizing how important this journey was to the rest of your body, to your brain, to your soul, to your spirit, to how you see yourself as a person.
You're going to need to do some work in order to, on your mind, in order to let your mind catch up with your body. It's going to take some work. You can't just sit around and just think it's going to happen, especially if you've been heavy for a while. It's going to take some, and Andrea talked about this on the podcast I did with her called 4 Years Later. She talked about you cannot be the same person now that you're at goal weight than you were when you were heavy. It's just, you won't be able to keep the weight off and you've got to deal with the things that are going on. I hope you guys enjoyed. Oh, go ahead, sis.
Can I give one more example? I just thought of this and I think it's really important. Okay. So I lost the weight, moved to a new duty station with Brandon, went to Alaska. Cristy knows what I'm going to say. And nobody knew heavy Carrie there. Nobody knew my story. No one knew my background. Nobody knew the failed weight loss surgery. Nobody could see the struggles. Everything that Cristy knew that I had gone through, my family knew that I had gone through. And you guys, I got there and now to them, they're looking at a size 8 person. They don't know me. They can't see my abdomen, my scars. And Cristy, I started making jokes as I always do, putting myself down. That's just kind of my Carrie thing. I used to do it all the time. I've really stopped doing it because I offended people. How did I offend people? Let me tell you how. Well, I don't know. I got such a big butt. I can't fit in here. Yeah, you guys move down. Here comes big butt Carrie, or, the funny jokes. I can't even think of the jokes I used to make. Well, I don't know. Like I shouldn't be eating this, kind of that thing. And people did not like that. It offended people because they didn't know that I used to be heavy. Heavy people can make those jokes about themselves, but someone who's a size 8 cannot.
Mm-hmm. That was interesting. Wow. And I remember that. I remember you saying that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I do catch you making comments about yourself that just don't apply anymore. And I'm like, you got to stop saying that. You'll say, well, I'm not in very good shape. And I'm like, you work out 5 days a week. You're in pretty good shape. I mean, I'm sweating, I'm dying right now and you're doing great. You're keeping up with me with no problem. And so it's taken a while and it's taken work to get to where you are. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of 3 weight loss struggles no one tells you about. And really shed some light on some things you might be feeling and how to handle it. Of course, we do encourage you to go through the teaching course, the digital learning series, Loving the New You, if that's you. And that will help you lose the weight off your mind as well as your body and get used to the new you. So we love you guys. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Rebel Weight Loss and Lifestyle. We'll see you on the next episode. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Rebel Weight Loss and Lifestyle. If you're not subscribed already, please be sure to do that right now. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you could do me a quick favor and rate and review this podcast. That would be just so helpful. Speaking of health, let me know if I can help you. Go to coderedlifestyle.com, check out my programs, and see what we can do for you. Until next time, Rebel on.